Good morning, everybody. It's Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong. I think I said in my last video that I was going to say goodbye, or in other words, put on the shelf the lace-covered journal that I've been working in since August 19th. It's got a lot in it. A lot of it I have shared on the channel. It's full of really everything. I have a lot of handwritten notes in here. I have a lot of just things I wanted to remember. Here is a day that there were really dangerous storms and Hurricane Dorian. That was back in September. So since we've seen some of this, I'm going to go really quickly and just get us back to the page where I decided that this journal is done. I think, yes, I read the poem, I think, on this page. There's a little entry on this page. Sometimes I glue pages together, and that's a really pretty way to keep your pages, but cut way back on how much you have left to deal with. This journal would be just really too big for the binding. I don't want it to become so heavy that it ruins the journal. But I just went through and sewed some pages together on this one. I thought that would be really pretty. You can also lay a straight edge down and tear some pages, which gives a pretty effect. You can see I picked up 2, 3, sometimes even 4 pages, and it's not that hard to do. You just turn the book like this, and I work with my hands, so maybe my hands are used to holding things like this, and just turn your sewing machine on, and you can just run that right under the edge. But let's just go ahead and flip. See, here's the center. This is the center of the journal. And if this side is this big, can you imagine? I don't think it would even close. I don't know how I ended up making this one so huge. Well, I do. There's a lot in it. Okay, good night, little journal. August 19th, 2019 to February 8th, 2020. And you can see there's just a little watercolor, very quick painting underneath this sheer. This is a little bit heavier than tissue paper. It's not vellum, and I glued that down. I did save a little bit of space, and that's where I had gone ahead and worked a little bit. There's a pocket there. So I'm considering this one done, except I know that floating around in this room, I've been sorting, working on paper packs. I'm working on the prayer journals, and just an update on those. The fabric is cut. I have a lot of gorgeous ephemera for those journals. I just need to get them put together. And my days are really busy. I know you're probably tired of hearing that, but I do. It takes me a few days sometimes. I love some of these pages, these beautiful magazine pages and the calendars. But what I was saying, the only thing I might continue to add to this is that I have a few pieces of ephemera, actually, current ephemera, that I want to put in here from the little party we had for my daughter recently, and just things from different events, maybe Christmas time. I think there are a couple of things that Jason and I picked up when we were out. So, but otherwise, this journal is done. You can hear these little charms bouncing around. This is the center of a vintage spool of thread, and I love to take these little bobbins and pull the labels off. They are so pretty. Let me show you. So when you come across these old spools, and maybe the thread breaks too easily, pull the labels off. On these tiny little spools, they come right off, and you can use those as hole reinforcements. I discovered that when I bought an enormous box of these old things, and even though all the thread was quote-unquote bad, I just could not say goodbye to all of these labels sitting in the store. And sure enough, they pulled off so easily. They just kind of work their way off. So always save those. I mentioned also in the last video that I wanted to share my new journal This is one of the journals. There are going to be 2 journals for me. I was in the mood to make a new one, especially because the lace-covered journal has become so overwhelmingly full, and it is now on my journal shelf. I also have been in the mood to make a hardcover journal for myself, and I noticed I follow Pink Odd Bird. I love April's channel, and she has a challenge for March that's coming up that sounds really fun. It's going back to the roots of what a junk journal really is. So I'm going to try to do that. But before we get to March, she mentioned that Priscilla at Release the Craftin' has a challenge for February to make a hardcover journal. And I had been thinking about hardcovers, so I'm definitely going to do that one. That journal, the journal for that challenge that I'm going to do is not done yet. But I did start a mixed media journal for myself. Is this thing sitting on the front practical? No, it's not, but it's really pretty, and it can just sit here or stand. I love to lean this little book up so that I can see it on my desk. This one is put together with the metal book rings. I have some large ones, but I only need these small ones for now because there's only 1 page in here so far. This is just a clip. That's all this is. This came off of a Christmas decoration, but I love birds, and I love that this little ceramic nest has the blue eggs in it. On the ring here, I, not too long ago, found some fabric. I think someone maybe was doing some felting. I don't know. I want to learn more about that. I've heard that you can take a sweater and put it in the washer. Maybe somebody can explain that to me. Otherwise, I don't know what this is. Let me show you the fabric. Maybe if I just show you this, you will know what I'm talking about here. All these beautiful pieces. Look how that looks on the inside. So I decided to cut some of these pieces to make tags, and I'm probably going to incorporate some of these pieces into a fabric covered journal. I love this. So if you know what this is, if you can tell by looking at this what you think this is, please let me know. This tag is just hanging on here, and this all happened because I wanted a way to attach this without really, I guess, permanently attaching it, so it ended up looking like this. And we have the beautiful color on this side, and then my birdsong stamp here. This is a little resin covered photograph, it looks like, in a frame. I don't know if someone intended that to be jewelry or if it was a tiny frame for a dollhouse. I don't know. This is something that I saw at the scrap exchange, and I just loved it, so I bought it. We have a lot of things, just bits and bobs and broken jewelry and just all sorts of things. So I've been wondering what to do with it. I glued it on the front of my current mixed media journal, and I have quite a few journals I'm working in right now. Let me tell you about the cover. This is from a hardback book that was falling apart. I tore the covers off, the front and the back, and then used my paper trimmer just to trim those ragged edges hanging off. And I wanted this to look just rustic, or rustic's probably not the right word. Scrappy is probably a good word. I just put some masking tape along the edges. I was careful to punch holes in each cover at exactly the same spot, paying attention to how they were going to lay. And I will, of course, continue to do that with the pages on the inside. I inked it up a little bit with one of my stamp pads. This Stampin' Up! In the rich raspberry. I love that color. And then on the inside, the front and the back, I've just glued down some images, this hand. And then the first collage in the art journal or mixed media journal, this is called Virgin Enthroned. The original painting was by Abbott Henderson Thayer in 1891. I typed that on there from memory, so I hope I got that right. An engraving was done by Henry Wolfe, and this image came from the engraving. I shared this image on my Facebook group, and I put it on my website as well, because I feel like things end up getting saved at a higher resolution on my website, at least for me when I have printed them. You can just see there are a lot of elements in here. This disc looking piece, that is a piece of trash that I found when Jason and I were walking along the Eno. It looks like maybe a plastic / paper layer that sits on the top of maybe a milk bottle or something. There's a piece of lace from a wedding dress. This is one of the tags that came out of the bag of trash I went through. It's the heavy mat board tag, and it had the word Grace on it. So I peeled part of that paper off to make sure that it would glue down nicely and things would stick to it. I left the word Grace there. We've got layers here. I love the fabric with the roses, and I've got my birdsong stamp. And then, of course, some stitching. These, again, from the trash bag, they're just little pieces of string that I laid down into the paint when it was wet. That's my current, what I would call my mixed media journal. But I'm always working in several different journals. The trash journal is not quite complete. I'm always working on the image zines, so I'm always inspired to pull from these images and make a new little quilt cover journal or something like that. I have this mixed media notebook. I work in this all the time, but this is more, I don't want to really put bulk on these pages because this one's wire bound, so this is just for flat. It is a mixed media notebook, but I use it for mostly the watercolor crayons and maybe some acrylic, some inks and things like that. And then of course I have this new journal where I tried out the Coptic stitch binding. I'm still planning to do a video on that. This is where I keep up with my jewelry, the wrapped stones and things like that. And I always am just playing with ink pens and water, and this is just a little drawing book. And even, like for your kids or for yourself, for different projects, you can just fold large sheets of paper in half and bind them with string. It doesn't even have to be, a multiple stitch pamphlet stitch. It can be just 2 holes punched in the paper, and then you can use some pretty string or cord. So I am always working in several journals at one time. My lace covered journal, that was my writing journal. I always feel like I have to write. I love to write things down. So the hardcover journal for me, and I'm going to try to get that done as soon as possible so I can use it. That will be my writing journal until it fills up, and then I will make another one. So let's move these to the side and put this little journal back together. I love the looks of metal rings. I don't use this type of journal all the time because it can get a bit cumbersome to open and close, because these little, where these rings actually open, that's the biggest part on the ring, and it can get caught up on the top or the bottom or in the center. But for this purpose, it's perfect. With that, I'm going to close. I have to get ready and go to work. I always love going to work. Are you tired of hearing that yet? I just love it. I love our mission. I love everything about it. And those of you who come by to see me, if you hear this, I love it when you come into the store. I absolutely love it. It makes me so proud of our customers and Durham and North Carolina and the fact that we have this. So spread the word, reuse. I don't even know what to say. So I'm going to go for now and leave this on the desk because it inspires me. I think it's so pretty. And I will see you soon. Bye for now.